Hey, mister. Hey, your boom. Your boom is in the shot.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Your Boom is in the Shot. Today we are going to be talking about Birds of Prey. And I'm not looking forward to it because it's
Christ,
bad.
Dude. No, it wasn't. I mean, it was, but like, it wasn't that bad.
Are you guys ready for some crazy shit? Because just from the little bit of talking that Ben and I have done so far, we've come to the realization that Ben definitely likes this movie more than I do. That's not to say Ben likes the movie, like bad. Overall. Yeah, we both think it's a bad movie, but Ben thinks it's worse or thinks
better.
It's less.
I think it's
less.
I think it's a lot better than you think it is.
Yeah, I think it's probably the worst thing DC's ever made.
Oh my God, dude,
like,
that's just not right. This is just not even close. Yeah. That's a pan shot.
No,
that's
this whole movie is like 500 pan shots.
No, yeah. there's like 20 max.
I think there's like a pan shot every 5 seconds.
I think that you just don't like Harley Quinn.
That's true. I don't like this version of Harley Quinn at all. And so Ben and I talked about this again a little before the pod. We tried to save a lot of our thoughts for the pod, but we couldn't help but get to a lot of them because we're quite at odds on a lot of this. Yeah, I've never liked Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, guys. Hot take, I know.
All right, so like Suicide Squad was bad. We can all accept that it was bad.
Yeah,
and I think that it is the biggest thing holding back Birds of Prey, in my opinion. I think that the Harley Quinn in Birds of Prey is a totally different Harley Quinn to the one that's in Suicide Squad. I also think that Suicide Squad is just a bad movie. I know I already said it, but I'm going to say it again. It's so bad. Like, I feel about Suicide Squad how you feel about Birds of Prey.
And I probably feel about how Suicide Squad, how you feel about Birds of Prey.
Yeah, it's really fucking weird.
I think both of them are bad.
Well, they are
for sure.
We both think they're both
agree
bad.
On that. Yes. You know what, guys? It's a matter of degree. Right.
It really is. I mean, I think it's as bad as any of the other DC movies. Right. I think it's up there with
any
the best
of the bad ones.
Huh?
As any of the bad ones.
As any of the bad ones. Yeah. I mean, well, all right. So like the ones
like the Joker was a
quote
home
unquote
run.
DC.
Joker is amazing.
Well, yeah. I don't really consider that a DC movie. It's a Joker movie. It's sort of different. It's like,
I guess
it's not a DC universe. It's not like the.
But it's Warner Bros. Actually managing to make like a good movie these days, which is. Rare.
Yeah, it's kind of unusual for sure.
Yeah.
But we're not here to talk about the Joker unless it's the really fucking awful one from Suicide Squad.
And and that was what I thought was the worst part of Suicide Squad. I think that Joker.
I think that's probably true.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I don't think it can be true actually because he's such a small part of that movie. Like he's in it for maybe like 3 scenes max. Mm-hmm. I think there are so many other bigger issues with that film. You can't fucking see anything. It's terribly shot. The plot is
pretty boring.
Makes no fucking sense. And they had wonderful actors and wonderful concepts, and they just fucking shat the bed. I don't know how you can put Will Smith in a badass role and just not have something good, but they managed to do it.
Well, he's so charismatic in that movie that like he kind of almost makes it work.
I think the
writing is all pretty thin and weak and weird.
I think that if you let Will Smith do his own thing in that movie, it might have actually been better because like every single line that feels like it's important for the plot is like badly written, especially the ones that come from him. And it's like he delivers them as well as they can be delivered, but they're bad lines.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion.
No, I mean, I agree. I mean, I think like the worst lines in the movie are definitely like either anything the Joker says or
he's pretty terrible.
Or it's anything that have to do with it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but the main like big bad woman, like all the
what Enchantress.
Yeah. And just all the lore around her is pretty dumb.
Yeah. I mean, that could have been really cool, except it just wasn't.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of what Suicide Squad was. Is like, oh, could have been really cool, just wasn't. Mm-hmm. Like Killer Croc could have been cool, just wasn't.
Batman could have been cool, and he was.
I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, I think they tried to do the whole like Batman from the villain's perspective kind of thing, and
For
like
sure.
Maybe Batman's not a good person, which he's not, and like I think that's the most interesting thing that happens in that film. Yeah. I think the second most interesting thing is the character who is like an ex like gangbanger flame dude. I think his backstory was really interesting, and then they ruined his character immediately. Like as soon as like the plot started, they were just like, he's like, I'm not going to use my powers. So then everybody hates him. And then Will Smith's character starts being mean to him. So he'll use his powers. It's like, just had to get you there. Terrible. But we're not here to talk about Suicide Squad.
It's true. But I feel like we can't not. I mean, I know we're not here to talk about it, but like it's going to come up.
I mean, it's definitely, it's relevant, right? It's relevant.
This is a sequel. It's a spinoff as well to that movie.
But I feel like in name only, right? Because like...
Really though? Because I feel like Harley Quinn spends 2/3 of the movie crying about the Joker from that movie.
Yeah, but you don't need to watch Suicide Squad to have any context for Birds of Prey.
I guess you don't have to.
You don't need any... None of it is relevant for Birds of Prey. Like not even the Joker is really relevant for Birds of Prey because it could be any version of the Joker that Harley Quinn is upset about.
I guess.
And... like, to be honest, there is virtually no bearing that Suicide Squad plays in Birds of Prey at all.
Okay.
That being said, I watched the movies back to back. So like,
wow.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It was a long afternoon, but it was one of those things. It's like everybody talks about it. A lot of my friends watch superhero movies and are superhero fanboys, and like comic book movies are their favorite things in the world, and that's their religion. So naturally I have to indulge their conversations. So to do that, I have to watch the films too. And Suicide Squad has been on my list for a really long time. Wow. I sound like a douche.
Oh, you didn't even watch it till recently?
No, I watched them both for the first time. Like
I thought maybe you just rewatched it.
No, I watched them both for the first time like 2 weeks ago.
Did you say you just watched Batman versus Superman recently too?
Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 months ago.
Wow.
Well, that movie was fucking hot garbage.
I thought all this DC hating from you was warranted. I'm just kidding.
What?
No, like I thought you had watched all the movies and been like, oh, they're awful. But like half of them you hadn't seen yet. And you were like, oh, well, the half I did see sucked.
Well, I mean, that is kind of how I was. I mean, I had like seen parts of Batman versus Superman. I had never watched it in its entirety. Mm-hmm. So like that's a little bit different. And I had seen parts of it mostly because I just couldn't
get through it.
The same way that you
3 hours long.
Yeah, it's super long and it's dumb. The plot is fucking dumb. Yeah. Like there's no two ways about it.
No disagreement. It's one of those movies that like, again, not to derail it too much from this, but I feel like the DC part of this conversation is always relevant. Like I'm never going to say that Batman vs. Superman is a good movie. I enjoy it, but I can't make a defense for like it being good other than that Ben Affleck's amazing in it. And like,
yeah, I mean,
that's a fire version of Bruce Wayne.
I think that's valid, I guess. I mean, like I have those like guilty pleasure movies that I'd never say are good, but that I love watching and always will. Yeah. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything. The first thing that I want to say is Scott Pilgrim versus the World, but like also, fuck that. That movie's great. I mean, it's not, but it's like great. It's great. It's fun.
Yeah.
So I guess I understand that. I will say that watching Birds of Prey was not as insufferable as watching Suicide Squad. Mm-hmm. Like Suicide Squad as a movie was bad, but like there's nothing redeemable about it for me. There are redeemable aspects of Birds of Prey. I think that there's a lot of things that are done really well in that movie. I think from right down to its bones, like at a core level, it's shot better. The acting is better. The dialogue is written better, whether you liked the dialogue or not. Mm-hmm. And I don't think you're a target demographic for that movie at all. I'm not really either, but I think that I was much more inclined to be entertained by Birds of Prey than I was by Suicide Squad. Like, I don't even think there was a single joke in Suicide Squad that I was like, oh, that's clever.
It's been so long since I've seen it. I'm sure if I'd seen it more recently, like you, I could pull up some more examples of parts that I liked. It's been years. But I will say that like, that's a movie that I watched twice. And the reason why I did is so I saw it in theaters. Then when it came out again, when it came out like for home release, it came out with the extended version.
Oh, and then you watched that?
And I watched that because I just wanted to see what I'm sorry too.
I've only seen the extended version.
Yeah. So I wanted to see what the differences were. They weren't like really like they didn't really change the movie. Batman versus Superman, theatrical versus extended, is a very different movie.
They both suck, but it's definitely different
because it's like a half hour of a different movie. You know,
absolutely.
There's like whole entire like
there's way more context.
There's whole entire C, D, E, F, and all the way to fucking Z plots.
I will say the extended version of Batman versus Superman at least makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a lot more sense, but it makes a little bit. I mean, like, they cut some stuff out in the theatrical release that kind of made the whole movie incoherent.
Yeah.
Which is like my favorite word today, because I think when we're talking about DC movies in that sort of Snyderverse, we're talking about incoherencies.
We're talking about the whole DCEU. We're talking about incoherency. It's like they couldn't decide if they wanted to just be Marvel. Now they're like going into more of this, like, you know, multiverse thing, which could actually end up being really cool.
Yeah, who knows?
Who knows? Like, especially with the Flash opening up the multiverse, having Keaton's Batman and all that stuff. It could
and a lot
be
of
cool.
people love the Flash the way a lot of people like Batman, so maybe it'll be a saving grace for them.
Yeah, but so far it's just been wildly inconsistent, because you get, you know, you get a Man of Steel, which is like an okay enough movie, and then you get like Batman versus Superman, which is like
bad.
Yeah, pretty bad overall. Like, just
I feel the way Man of Steel, I just want to say, I feel similarly with Man of Steel how I feel about the early Thor movies. And you probably don't dislike it that much. I might be a little bit harsh in that regard, but I found that Man of Steel was kind of hard to get through.
Oh, it is. It's very boring. It's extremely boring.
And that's how I feel about the Thor 1 and Thor 2.
I agree.
Just bad.
Yeah.
Like hard to watch.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
All right. I'm glad to hear that.
Man of Steel for me, the only time I watch it now is like to give context to another watch of Batman versus Superman.
No, yeah, that's valid. You know? I mean, I like Zod's haircut. I think with the Caesar haircut, I was like, oh, that's neat.
Yeah,
I think that's my one positive note for that movie. Like,
yeah, but again though, like, inconsistent, because like I think down the line we should do a whole episode on like wider DCU, the way we did on like the Marvel Mania roundtable. I think we should do something like that.
The only reason why we haven't yet is because I hadn't seen so much of it, because it's
and we also had a big ass hiatus.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Where we could have done a lot of stuff.
It's just so much of it is bad.
Yeah, well, it's hard to watch, right? Like, at least like Marvel, when like you can have all the problems that you've explained with Marvel movies, but at least they're like mostly pretty fun.
And I will say this a million times. All right. Do I think that the Marvel movies are good movies critically? No, I don't. But I can watch almost all of them and be entertained.
No, most of them are super watchable.
Absolutely.
Thor 1 and 2, no.
Thor 1 and 2 are not.
Avengers 2, not really.
Avengers 2 is hot garbage. I hate
Civil War is...
I hate Civil War. You know I hate Civil War.
No.
I could talk at length about how much I hate Civil War. I think that like...
Oh, the Incredible Hulk is super unwatchable.
Oh my God. I think we forget that that's even part of the MCU sometimes.
I think they want us to.
Yeah, they definitely do. I think that the MCU wouldn't exist without Robert Downey Jr., something that we were saying earlier. He's carried, not just like that franchise has been on his back.
Oh,
for like 90% of all of the movies.
Yeah, you know he's seeing a chiropractor for that. Like.
Oh yeah. And I'm curious to see if they'll ever recover from removing him.
I guarantee behind the scenes he was like, "You gonna kill me yet?" Like probably 5 movies removed from Endgame, he was like, "Can I die yet?
Can I stop being Iron Man?"
It was like I imagine it's like a Harrison Ford being like, "I'll come back for Star Wars, but you have to kill me." that's my term.
That's amazing. It's interesting, and you can't talk about DC movies without comparing them to the Marvel movies, because
when they launched them, they were clearly trying to do that. They were like, "Oh, Avengers was gangbusters, so let's make our own." If
you guys want to hear about that, then go listen to our Aquaman episode, which is also, I think, in my opinion, one of our funniest episodes.
Oh, for sure.
But that aside, this movie is kind of different than those movies, and so far we haven't really talked about Birds of Prey the movie yet. We've talked about Harley Quinn. We've talked about Suicide Squad.
Okay, so do we still want to give a formal like 30-second?
No, I think we're well over.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, but I wanted to pitch it your way and see what you thought. Okay. Would you rather unpack what you think is redeemable about it, or have me just talk about what I?
Yeah, this is a new one for us.
Yeah, this has never happened to us before, guys. Where I've been more positive on a movie than Ben, especially a DC movie.
No, negative.
Or more negative.
More negative. Yeah, you're usually more positive.
I'm usually more positive on almost everything.
Yeah, I think you're totally irrational about this movie. I don't know. I don't understand it at all. I don't think it's a good movie, guys. I have to say that over and over again. I don't think it's a good movie, but I would rather watch this than most of the other DCEU movies. I'd rather watch this than Aquaman, to be honest with you.
I was actually just going to say the opposite. I would rather rewatch Aquaman I definitely rather rewatch Batman versus Superman and Justice League.
Oh God, those movies are so bad.
They are, but this one's worse.
But no, it's not. It's like there's a plot. It like makes sense. The characters are sort of funny in their own way. I think that Harley Quinn feels like an actual person in this movie, where she didn't in Suicide Squad.
Do you want me to give you the things I like about it then?
Sure. Okay. Let me hear the things you like about it, buddy.
Couple sequences that I liked were when Harley Quinn breaks the girl, I forget her name, out of like the cells, and it's like it's raining from the sprinklers. That was a cool sequence.
Yeah.
The fight sequence that I think was like right after that in the evidence locker was cool, or evidence room. I thought the portrayal of Zaz was interesting and cool. And
I thought Zaz was probably one of the coolest
Huntress,
parts of that movie.
favorite character in the movie.
I mean,
Huntress was awesome. Great backstory.
That's
and
true.
the actress just plays that weird fish out of water thing for her, like fish out of water, like when she's around the others, she's just so out of place and so confused at what the hell is going on.
I think that was one of the most genius things that I've ever seen in a superhero movie. And I know that's like really high praise, but they were able to make a character who was so stereotypically badass. And not only did she feel badass, but she also felt like comical, because she just totally was like, what's going on the whole like everybody's like super afraid of her through the whole fucking movie, and at the end she just shows up and everybody's like, wait, what were you doing? And she was like, I'm trying to hunt down the people who murdered my family. And they're like, you're not trying to kill Harley Quinn? And they're like, she's like, no. And it's like, it's really I think
because once Zaz is dead, she's like, I'm done here, and they're like, no, you're not.
I mean, I thought it was kind of clever. I don't know. I think that there were definitely parts of that movie that were boring. What's her name? The police officer whose name I can't remember. Who just keeps getting fucked over by her boss.
I shaved my balls for this.
I liked the story that she was telling. I didn't feel like her character was super compelling. I think Birds of Prey was a movie that did the thing that Captain Marvel didn't do, where they leaned into the empowerment of the women that were in it.
I can agree with that.
That's what I really liked.
But another thing though that made me think of you bringing up the detective, because I had this thought a few times throughout the movie, but the first time I had it was with her when they point out like, oh, she's a generic cop, and Harley Quinn's doing like literally saying that in her like monologue or her narration. And she says, oh, and now she's going to say it was one killer, like in generic stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, you can point out and lean into how generic everything is, but that doesn't excuse the fact that everything in your movie is really generic in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? And like, does that make sense?
No, I think they're
trying to say that it's almost like they're trying to lean on the bad movie by going, we know we're making a bad movie, but like, hey, at least we know, at least we're aware. Well,
I think that that's a failing of the film. I think that what they're trying to do in the writing is like Harley Quinn pointing out that detective isn't anything special, and then she's supposed to feel like something special by the end of the film. And I think that doesn't land, especially with that character in particular. And I think it kind of lands with Black Canary too, because she never really gets to be the Black Canary that we're all familiar with from the comic books.
Right.
She's a cool character, but she's not really Black Canary.
She's still better than the CW Black Canary.
Oh my God, leagues better. But that's a whole different conversation. I mean, I think that like I find Harley Quinn to be insufferably annoying, and that's what's charming about her. That's the point. Like she is a real person in this film. She is annoying Harley Quinn.
I do think her whole like, struggling to like get over the Joker is relatable in a lot of ways, even with how crazy she is. To find out like we mentioned this before the pod, but it's kind of like Nightwing, like Dick Grayson figuring out who am I without Batman? Like it's kind of similar. Who am I without the Joker? Can I be Harley Quinn without the Joker?
That's the only good version of Harley Quinn. Have you watched the Harley Quinn show? The animated show?
There's an animated show?
You haven't seen the animated Harley Quinn show?
No.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Really?
Yeah, it's like phenomenal. It's like,
when did it come out?
It only aired on DC's streaming app.
Oh, okay.
Which is maybe why you haven't seen it.
I watched the recent movie, the Harley, the Batman, like where they went back to the old animation style, Batman and Harley Quinn or whatever. And that was awful.
No, so it was the new-ish. I think it came out like a year or two ago.
Okay.
It's Harley Quinn. It's the same kind of version of Harley Quinn that's in Birds of Prey. It's the post breakup with Joker Harley Quinn. And
now, is she like classic jester Harley Quinn, or is she overly sexualized, like skirts
she's not
and
really
pigtails Harley Quinn?
either.
Okay.
I think she's the closest. She's closer to that, to the Harley Quinn from the movies, the Birds of Prey, but she's not really that either. I think that maybe that's colored my opinion of Birds of Prey a little bit, because I really quite enjoyed that show. That's basically, it's Harley Quinn. She breaks up with the Joker. Her life is crumbling around her, and then she becomes best friends with Poison Ivy, and they become roommates, and then like shenanigans ensue, and it's very much like a young adult show, and it's like Harley Quinn as a young adult in like the context of being a supervillain in Gotham, and it's kind of like whimsical.
Well, that sounds like a much better story than this.
It is.
And I feel like I maybe would enjoy that. I see, because I don't hate the Harley Quinn character on principle.
Yeah.
I don't like this Harley Quinn character because I've always found her insufferably annoying. And I also, granted, and I think you've probably experienced this with a lot of these movies too, the wider like, you know, fan response to
Absolutely.
this character initially was really troubling.
For sure.
When like, you know, like the Harley Quinn that debuted in Suicide Squad was like we were saying earlier before the pod, is like an abused woman that keeps going back to her abuser, and like all of the couples were like, we're going to be that for Halloween. The women were like, Harley Quinn's my role model.
And all of a
like,
sudden
guys, did you really watch the movie? Did you pay attention to anything?
And then it's like all of a sudden, just like there was a burst of like Iron Man worshippers when Iron Man 1 came out, and Captain America worshippers when Captain America came out. Now all of a sudden it's like all of these people with, you know, Harley Quinn posters on their walls from conventions and stuff. And like, I've seen tons of that. And I think that like they're more, some of those people can be more insufferable than the Harley Quinn from the actual movie. I think that the Harley Quinn in this movie is a correction to that in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things I like about it. So in Suicide Squad, like they totally glorify that fucked up relationship between Harley Quinn and the really shitty Jared Leto.
It's like a third of that movie is that.
Yeah. I mean, every time Jared Leto is in the film, it's so that Harley Quinn, so he can be awful and Harley Quinn can gush over him.
Yeah.
And Birds of Prey is about how like that was wrong. And like maybe they were wrong for portraying it that way. And that maybe the Joker is just a shitty person. Not that he's not a particularly big part of Birds of Prey, but female empowerment is. That's sort of what that movie is about. And I think that's like a subtext that runs throughout the whole thing that I think is really important. And for those people out there who love Harley Quinn, they should be loving the Birds of Prey Harley Quinn, or the Harley Quinn TV show Harley Quinn, the one that is emancipated and is like discovering herself. Mm-hmm. And like, that's one of the things I really like about Harley Quinn, because she reminds me of people that are in my life who have, you know, been in abusive relationships and who are maybe not so okay right now and are trying to discover who they are and how they navigate this world. And I see a lot of them in Harley Quinn,
sure,
in a way that is really surprising to me. And I think that's one of the biggest things that has redeemed that movie for me, for all of its failings.
I mean, I like the thematic skeleton of the character that is this Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
It's just it's the skin and the muscle, not the skeleton, that bothers me. Does that make sense?
I guess
it's what I mean by that is every word that comes out of her mouth like
grating
just
to you.
It is. It's just everything about that character is super annoying. Like every time she's talking to another character in this movie, every time she's doing her Harley Quinn shticks, it's just like, okay, enough. Like, she
seems like a caricature of, so this is another thing that like maybe I have a bias, because like she is essentially a caricature of a person who's very close to me in my life. And that person is super fucking annoying and grates on me all the time. But I fucking love her and she's one of my closest friends. And I think that like sometimes you have to look deeper than the superficial like annoyance to really appreciate like a character. And I don't buy that like she's annoying because it's bad acting. I like, because to me it reads annoying because that's the way it's supposed to be. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it is. And but again, like I think that goes back to what I said earlier about like, okay, you can lean into the fact that it's annoying or bad or cliche, but that doesn't change the fact that it is, you know? And that for me makes this movie, that's what makes this movie not rewatchable. Like every 5 to 10 minutes, I was like, can I stop watching this? And we just don't talk about this on Yibbits. Like I didn't even watch the last like 5 minutes. And that's because actually Ben had come over to record an episode. and this is like, I'm just not going to finish it. But yeah, it's just.
I think that's really harsh. Maybe
it is, but it's how I feel, you know, and it's. I don't know. Maybe I am being overly harsh on this, the way that I think you're overly harsh on a lot of the Marvel stuff. Though I will give you credit for being reasonably positive about it earlier.
Right, and I try to be reasonable about everything, even the movies that I don't like. I try to be reasonable about. You know,
that's why I gave redeeming qualities, because there are. It's not everything about it is terrible.
Right, and I think like there's a lot for me. I think it's like a 50-50 for me. You know, it's enough to be for me to think it's a bad movie, but I don't think it's worse than most of the other DC movies. In fact, I think it's better than a lot of them. I don't understand your perspective at all. Like, I don't find it fun. And yet you find Thor Ragnarok fun.
Thor Ragnarok is so much fun.
I don't understand. That movie's not fun.
The characters are engaging in that movie.
No, they're not.
I think Thor's adventure, especially, that's fine, because you know what?
That's so annoying.
No, I think we've talked in the past about the Hulk dick jokes and that whole situation. I'm not defending that necessarily, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it goes back to what you said earlier. The Marvel movies are like pretty fun for the most part.
Yeah.
And that makes them pretty rewatchable. And I think Ragnarok's one of the more fun Marvel movies. I think that's a weird one to pick. If you'd been like, you find this like less fun than Avengers 2, I'd be no.
I think
it's about as fun as Avengers 2, which is to say not at all.
I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I picked Thor Ragnarok because I knew it would be a decisive pick. And I know a lot of the viewers would have heard me say that and be like, oh my God, Ben's an asshole. But like, in honesty, like I've said before, I don't like Thor Ragnarok. But I could watch Thor Ragnarok again. You could put Thor Ragnarok on and I will watch it.
Well, I think it was a warranted course correction. You know, it's like that's forest for the trees. And we again, guys, sorry, this is something we talked about before the pod, but I'll recap it real quick. Like we had said, or I was saying forest for the trees in Thor Ragnarok, that because Ben always harps on the fact that, they changed Thor and like they do like a lot of weird dick jokes and they were harping on a lot of nostalgia. But I feel like it saved that character and that franchise, at least that character in the MCU context, and how he fits into the wider, Avengers team and all that. I feel like he plays way better with the others in Avengers 3 and 4 than he does in 1 and 2. And I feel like it makes the Thor movies more entertaining. It makes them rewatchable, not just watchable, but rewatchable.
I think that's true to an extent.
But like, if this movie came out with an extended version, like I rewatched Suicide Squad, I would not rewatch this. I would just Google what happened.
But that's what I don't understand, because like the way that you find this movie insufferable, I find a lot of other movies insufferable, and some of them are DC movies. Mm-hmm. Like Thor Ragnarok, I can watch it again. It's not one of the ones I find insufferable. But Infinity War, I find Infinity War insufferable. I would rather watch Birds of Prey again than Infinity War.
That's crazy. And I've watched Infinity War like 9 times.
I know. It doesn't. I don't know where the disconnect is. Like I don't know what I'm getting that you're not, or vice versa.
Maybe those movies don't have the things that grate on me that this does.
Well, and I think that's the flip, right? I think that's the important thing to notice, because there are a bunch of things about Birds of Prey that grate on you that don't grate on me. Mm-hmm. And there's a bunch of things about these Marvel movies that grate on me. You just.
That's probably exactly what it is. It's probably just the difference of, what we find to be annoying or satisfying or unsatisfying.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that, like,
I think Infinity War is net satisfying. Yeah, even if it's not a perfect movie.
I don't. I think it's bad. And I think that, like, I think most of our viewers probably disagree with me. But, like, I think that when it comes to, like, Birds of Prey, I think that there are very few things about that, that you find annoying that I also find terribly annoying.
Okay, so how did you feel about Ewan McGregor? Because that's a big one for me, because I feel like he knocks it out of the park in everything he's in. Yeah. Especially like I saw him recently in Dr. Sleep, and I loved him in that movie.
He was phenomenal in Dr. Sleep.
He is phenomenal in Dr. Sleep, but then I see him in this movie, and he's like, I know he's doing the best he can with what he's given. I know he is. I know he's only given so much.
I'm not going to lie. I didn't realize at first it was Ian McGregor, because he did such a poor job in this film. I'm not going to lie about that. And I found out after I watched it when I looked at the cast list.
You weren't immediately like,
I wasn't immediately
General
like, that's
Kenobi?
Yeah, no, I didn't.
Really?
I did that when I watched Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
Well, granted, in Dr. Sleep, he looks like Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
He's got like the same haircut and the beard. But yeah, no, not at first. And I didn't care about him in this movie at all. Mm-hmm. Zaz was the antagonist that I thought
Zaz was cool. I don't know if I said that yet, but that was another one of the redeeming qualities. That was one of the very first thing you said. Yeah, okay.
And I think that stands true. And I think everybody knew it, like from the production standpoint, because he's definitely got more screen time and he's definitely
they cast a pretty big actor to play him too.
Yeah.
Like he was like one of the stars of like Sharp Objects. So when I was watching the movie, I was like, where do I know him from? And then I realized he was like, like one of the main stars of like a major HBO show last year. And I was like, they wouldn't have cast a nothing actor to play that character if they didn't believe in it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true. I think that he's not as big an actor as Ian McGregor.
No.
But that aside, I think that Zaz is a better character than Black Mask.
I know Black Mask, again, I know he's supposed to be ridiculous and over the top. It's played in a way that's like, I just couldn't get on board. Okay, so for example, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, right?
Yeah.
Peter Quill's father is supposed to be ridiculous and obnoxious. Yeah. And in the very end of the movie, he's pretty much insufferably obnoxious. But like for most of that movie,
Peter Quill is for every movie that he's in.
You know what? Fair enough.
I'm sorry. I had to say it. Continue.
I love Peter Quill, but fair enough. But well, I don't love him. I don't like him in Infinity War. I think he's the reason why half of everybody dies in Infinity War, because he's an idiot.
No fucking reason. He's the male Marvel version of Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
In terms of
I don't disagree with that.
In terms of like annoying, stupid characters.
Sure. I don't disagree with that. I don't. What was I going to say? No. Okay. So Black Mask is like, I just think the whole time, I think everything that I think Ewan McGregor's doing the best he can with that character, but there's not enough there for him to make it interesting, that it's just ends up being like, twirly mustache the whole time. And he's like cutting people's faces off and twirling. And then he's like, why did that woman dance? Or why did she laugh? And now I'm going to cut her dress off and like, or make the other guy do it. He's just being like
a big old ball sack.
Yeah. But he's just trying to be like a mustache twirling, like super evil and like giddy for his evilness.
Did not care about him whatsoever.
And it's bad.
I agree.
And it adds to the grating qualities of this movie and the annoyance of this movie.
A rich, arrogant serial killer. But I think that that's also like the point. Like, I think he's supposed to be that way.
And that's a lot of this movie. They know it's the point, but that doesn't fix it. That doesn't change.
But I don't think, I think it does, right? Because I don't think it was a mistake that he acts that way. I think he acts that way because of how it drives Harley Quinn's personality and her character development.
But I think they should have made that more clear.
I thought it was
I think it's pretty clear the connection between how he is and the development of Black Canary.
For sure. Well, because they have a more direct storyline together.
Yeah.
But I think that like he is in a lot of ways a sort of character replacement for the Joker to Harley Quinn. Like he represents what the Joker was, and Harley Quinn's reaction to him is sort of like her growth as a person.
So you're kind of saying it's like a situation where like a girl's been through an abusive relationship and then she starts getting like talked down to by another man and she's like,
right. Yeah. I think
know
that's a lot of
kind
what
of
this
thing.
movie is.
Okay. And that's fair. And I think that's like, I think there are some points in this movie where there was a lot of potential. And I think the Harley Quinn growth story is really interesting. And that, in theory, on paper, makes for a good character. I just think the way that like it's executed, and I think they were really, not to bring up Suicide Squad again, but we're trying to like, they're like, oh, this character blew up. Let's continue leaning into what she is, and what she was before. Yeah. Not in the sense of like her, giving into Joker, of course, but like they just really leaned into how over the top and obnoxious she is. They made her unbelievably obnoxious in this
Harley
movie.
Quinn is always unbelievably obnoxious, though. Like even in the animated series,
sure.
Like her original comic book character, like she's an obnoxious person.
Yeah,
I think that's like
I just don't think that can hold up a whole movie. And this is like so.
But she doesn't hold up the whole movie. The whole supporting cast of all of the other females empowered women.
Do they? Because it didn't seem that way to me. That was totally missed on me if they were supposed to. And I feel like Suicide Squad is I'm not really trying to defend Suicide Squad. It's
I'm
not
also
a good
not
movie.
really trying to defend Birds of Prey. But
I know
feel
you're
like
not. I know you're not. But I think I think I'd said this again to you before the podcast, that I think in Suicide Squad, okay, as poorly as all of the characters are written and as boring as that movie is, you're not going to get a disagreement from me on that. Okay. I think that while she is annoying in that movie, she is oddly charming when playing off of those characters.
Oh, gross.
But is just annoying in this movie. There's nothing charming about her.
Just 100% disagree with that.
That's fair.
I mean, yeah, I don't get it. I don't see it. I don't see it, TJ. I'm sorry. I don't see it.
Maybe it's just because I can only stand her so much that like when she's just a little annoying birdie in the corner half the movie, it's like, okay.
Yeah, but everybody in that movie.
Look at you being an annoying little birdie in the corner. But when like the whole movie is about the annoying birdie, you're like someone shoot that bird.
Everybody in Suicide Squad is annoying. So like I don't understand how it's different.
That's true. Yeah.
It's like she has one brand of annoying. I feel like I get this impression from you, TJ, that like did a girl like Harley Quinn hurt you in the past?
Did a man like Peter Quill hurt you?
He did. He bullied me. No, I don't know. I don't know. I think that my feelings about Chris Pratt and like Peter Quill.
I think your feelings on Peter Quill are informed by your feelings for Chris.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
And I think you're having trouble separating the art from the artist.
Except that like every character Chris Pratt plays is the
same character.
Yeah.
But they're not, I don't think they're like, you know, conservative choir boy Chris Pratt. You know?
Yeah, no.
They're all the same, but they're different from the real guy.
No, I agree with that. No, I agree with that.
And like, listen.
Everything
else I've seen Margot Robbie in, I've liked her in.
Oh yeah.
So it's not even that I don't like her.
No, yeah, for sure.
It's just his character. I don't like her.
No, I agree with that.
Character.
And like, I think that I don't like Chris Pratt, the actor, but I also don't like any of the roles that Chris Pratt, the actor, takes. Does that make sense? Yeah. And I think that's like a different conversation. And I'm also just not a big fan of a lot of the movies that he's in. Like those aren't really my kind of films. So I guess I think that also informs it a lot.
Well, yeah. I mean, like I mean, I think Guardians was like he was there, but he was existent in Hollywood before Guardians. But I think Guardians blew him up so much that he was like all of a sudden like the poster boy of the moment for like action flicks. You know, like all of a sudden he was like the leading man in Jurassic World.
Oh God.
You know, which right. Jurassic World is it's a movie.
It's a disservice.
It's a movie
to the original Jurassic Park, and even all the sequels.
That should be a rewind.
That should Jurassic World,
Jurassic Park, maybe.
We should do Jurassic Park.
The franchise.
Yo, guys, let us know if you want a Jurassic Park episode. I think TJ and I both love Jurassic Park in different ways and have different stories to tell about that, which I think would be really interesting to talk about.
I'm so down for that.
If you guys are down for that, let us know. We'll think about it.
yourboomisintheshot@gmail.com.
Thank you very much for the plug, TJ. Yeah, I don't know. I like Harley Quinn is kind of a unique character. And like I feel like Peter Quill is less so. Does that make sense?
It's less
unique.
Or less unique. Okay.
Yeah. And that might be because of Chris Pratt's he is unique.
Well, and I think also it's his place in the MCU too. I think he was a new funny man in a franchise of funny men.
Yeah, I guess
you know what I mean. Like they already had at that point they had Iron Man, and they didn't have Ant-Man yet, but
which never landed for me. I'm not an Ant-Man fan.
Yeah. Well, then both Ant-Mans are another like Batman versus Superman for me. I can't tell you why they're a good movie,
but you like them.
But I enjoy the shit out of them.
No, I mean that's valid.
Yeah.
You know, there's definitely not a pan shot in that. It's not like you're out here saying they deserve Oscars.
No. No. If you guys enjoyed this movie, and if you think Harley Quinn's amazing, then that's valid.
It is, and I think that like I could totally see how somebody out there who maybe doesn't have the pretensions that I do would watch Harley Quinn and love it, or Birds of Prey specifically. It's not just Harley Quinn, but really love it, and I think that there's beauty in that. In the same way that there are people out there who watched Guardians of the Galaxy first time and it touched them in a way that it didn't touch me. You know,
I think it touched me.
Yeah, well,
for sure.
I think a lot of things touched you, TJ.
Oh my god. That's
sorry,
not a pan shot.
I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it.
Wow.
Whew, it's getting hot in here. But
yeah, not just because I turned the AC off.
But yeah, no, I mean, like, I think there's a reason why people worship the MCU like it's the new Bible, sort of, and I
think the response to the MCU is hyperbolic for sure, like that response.
Yeah.
And I'm not one of those like it's all amazing. I've happened to enjoy most of it.
But that's how I feel about Star Wars, and there are definitely a lot of people out there
for sure, dude. Okay,
do not love Star Wars.
The prequels without the Clone Wars are like pretty much irredeemable. My
little brother loves them. He thinks they're the best of the bunch.
Yeah, we talked about that before, and I said we should maybe have him on and see what his thoughts are.
I think he would. I hope he would like to be on one day. That's totally up to him. But that's like one of those forest for the trees things, right? Like we love Star Wars enough and we enjoy it enough that we can look past it all. Absolutely. And like the trilogy, the prequel trilogy is interesting because as hot garbage as it is, it's like that's nostalgic for me.
Yeah.
You know, I remember watching that shit when I was a kid.
Me too. But I will say, for what it's worth, I feel the same way about Hayden Christensen's Anakin Skywalker that I do about Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Every word that comes out of his mouth, I'm like, shut up.
You know what's really interesting about that? You know what's really interesting? Wow. That's fascinating because like I kind of feel the same way. And yet I still want to apologize more for Harley Quinn than Hayden Christensen's Anakin Skywalker, which I think is strange.
I think it's because of the skeleton of the character we were getting at earlier. I think the skeleton of what they were going for with that character's growth is valid. And then maybe the execution is something that could be, seen as annoying the way that I do. But I don't think anything about the prequel alone's telling of Anakin Skywalker is good.
Yeah.
I think it's all bad until they fixed it with the Clone Wars. And then I think the Anakin Skywalker the Clone Wars builds is amazing. Multifaceted.
Yes.
Multidimensional.
Absolutely.
And just an absolute all-time character.
Informs the turn that didn't make any sense in the prequel series.
Beautiful character.
Thank you, Dave Filoni, for the Clone Wars. If it weren't for you and that series, I couldn't go back to the prequel series.
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Filoni, for
Mr. and Mrs. Filoni, true facts.
Having coitus and creating Dave.
Yeah.
I love you.
Yeah. Oh man. I hope he knows how much love he obviously doesn't, but like I hope one day he'll find out how much love he gets on our show.
Yeah.
Because he gets a lot.
He does. But he deserves it. He deserves all of it. He deserves all the love he gets. And I honestly, I think I've said this probably on the pod before, but I hope someday he gets Kathleen Kennedy's job. I really do. Like I really hope he like leads the charge for Lucasfilm, because I think there's no better hands it could go into than his.
I agree with that. I wholeheartedly agree with that. TJ, how did we manage to turn this into another Star Wars show?
We do that on every episode. We did it on Invisible Man. We started talking about Star Wars.
Or in our defense, we were doing a Star Wars episode
at this point.
In our defense, for Invisible Man, we went back to back, and immediately after Invisible Man, we started a Star Wars episode.
Yeah. And so we were kind of hyped for it.
And we knew going into it that we were doing that. So I think we were ready. We were looking to get out of the Invisible Man and into the Star Wars episode the whole time.
That's true.
This time, I think that it's just the drawing the connections to
and also Ewan McGregor,
Joseph Campbell, like epic stories. Like I think that's really the connection between the Marvel and the and then drawing that connection to the Bible and how like there are epic stories that have permeated human culture for all of
the hero with 1,000 faces.
Yeah, absolutely. It's every single major epic in history has all had the same story, and like the Marvel movies are not that different. They're flavored maybe differently, but the stories are basically the same.
Yeah, I mean, most stories, the whole point that Joseph Campbell's making is most stories are just a spin on the same few stories.
I mean, most of a particular kind of story.
Yeah.
And
these are all character stories like that, like all those hero stories. Yeah. They're all like the same kind of story. Right. I mean, the MCU has done the same story several times, like over. Like, oh my God, Ant-Man in a lot of ways is like another Iron Man.
Yeah, they can't do anything originally. And when they try, it's just bad. Mm-hmm. Oh, TJ's giving me the damn it, Ben. Look,
Well, guys, credit where credit's due. I know Ben's a snob,
I am such a snob.
but I think he backs up pretty much everything he says in a very informed, educated,
I try
and
to be
valid
reasonable.
manner.
I may be able to smell my own colon, but I try to be reasonable.
I think you are, and I think like I can deal with even the most different opinions from mine if they can be backed up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if they can, it's like fine, let's disagree to disagree. But I think especially when they can be backed up, it's like you know.
Yeah, and
you might even change my mind in some ways.
I have a close friend who he absolutely hates Endgame and thinks that
That's
Infinity
crazy.
War is like the best.
I don't know how you can hate Endgame.
I mean, I think it's
beautiful.
They're all bad. They're all ugly. They're all ugly, TJ. But that aside,
not just aesthetically, like everything about it is beautiful.
No, they're ugly, TJ. They're filthy, ugly. It's like the picture of Dorian Gray. You see Dorian Gray, I see his painting. Like,
oh,
they're
man.
bad. Mm-hmm. but what I'm getting at is that he has very, very differing opinions to either of us, and he has reasoning for all of it, and like reasoning that's so in depth that I sometimes have difficulty following it. But
well, then he sounds like somebody we should have on.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have him on. His name is Vam. Vam, if you're listening, hi buddy. I can't wait to have you on the show, and I know you can't wait either. So once we find out what our next episode's gonna be, I'm gonna let you know.
You know what we should do at some point is we should have like a trial of Ben and TJ, and just like have on like anybody we know who just like thinks our opinions are like total pan shots, or like we'll have your brother on to like tell us why like the prequels are amazing.
I hope he has.
Or I'll have somebody on that hates episode 8. I don't know if he's also one of those people.
I think he does.
Then, and we have him. We have your friend who loves Infinity War and hates Endgame.
Yeah.
Yeah. And whoever else we can think of between now and then.
Right. That's true. People out in the listening right now, send us an email. I
mean, literally roast us over email. We don't care. I think we say this every episode.
We
like,
just
episode. Do it. Like.
But I'm gonna tell you guys right now, if you have an interesting opinion about something and you have some backup for it, let us know. You might find your way onto the show one day.
If you listen, I'm willing to say this. We're small enough at this point still. If you email us something, we'll read it, and especially if it's like a long form, like not long form, but like a well developed opinion, like Ben's saying, something you can back up and all that, something that you really want to make this point, or something that you thought we said you disagree with and why. Or something you thought we missed that is important to bring up, something like that. Like, we will not only read it, like we will love to just shout you out and open up that as like a talking point to like add on to what we think about that thing you're discussing, because we're definitely open to more discourse. We're just two people.
This is a discourse channel,
right?
And if you don't discourse, get the fuck out.
If you don't discourse, you can leave discourse.
For those of you who don't know, discourse is when you talk about stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like discussion.
So please come and talk about it.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Pretentious way of saying discussion.
I don't know why I felt the need to explain that to you guys. You probably all know. But
yeah, that was kind of rude to.
Yeah, no, I think you're all a bunch of
They know what discourse
idiots.
means. You fuck.
Obviously, I'm a condescending.
They're just a bunch of Marvel loving idiots.
Yeah, you bunch of plebs,
bunch of shills,
plebeians, filthy commoners.
You muggles.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, anything else to add, TJ?
Didn't you say you liked the cinematography in this movie, or were you just saying?
Well, compared to the fucking Suicide Squad, which was a fucking shit show.
Mm.
I mean, I think it was interesting. I think it was definitely better than like 90% of the other DC movies, like for sure. I don't think anything interesting happens from a cinematography perspective in really any of them except Batman versus Superman, which is such a shit show that it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I think it's the cinematography and Ben Affleck's Batman that are the best things about that movie, but everything else is like middling to actively bad.
Yeah, well, I think it's all actively bad. I think there's some interesting shots sometimes, and a lot of the time there aren't. I think in Suicide Squad, it's fucking ugly. I think it's just an ugly movie to watch.
Yeah. I agree.
I think Birds of Prey, they do some weird stuff.
Aquaman
weird lighting
is pretty cool, the cinematography. But then there's also like you had brought up on the podcast that kind of like it blew my mind that I didn't notice it the first time. And then when I watched Aquaman the second time, I was like, oh my God, Ben is so right. This is so like distracting. How they kept doing the fucking
slow zooms.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Those drive me nuts.
I couldn't believe I didn't see it the first time because the second time after you'd pointed it out, I couldn't not see it. Every scene, I was like, stop.
Every fucking scene. Fucking scene. And like, and the CG was terrible when they were underwater.
Oh God,
like,
yeah. That ending fight is, it's like a video game cutscene.
Yikes. That movie. Yeah. Which nothing like that happens in Birds of Prey. Like there are very few.
To be fair to this movie, like it's pretty low to the ground as much as like.
It's pretty practical.
Movies, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of practical stuff in that film.
It's kind of a crime movie in a lot of ways. It's colored through the lens of a ridiculous comic book franchise,
which I think
is valid.
Is one of the reasons why I like the cinematography compared to the other DC movies, because it's got this like dark, gritty Gotham feel sometimes, but it's also got this like Harley Quinn whimsical thing going on, which is
like the whole sequence in the police station when she's like shooting people with like
with the fucking
smoke bombs.
That was sick.
Yeah,
I thought that
like that sequence too.
I thought that was super cool. Or like whenever they're in the club and everything is like super goldeny.
Okay,
like,
when they kept doing the thing where like it would show her in different points of the night at different stages of drunkenness as she's trying to cope with the breakup and all that was interesting.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah, that was a cool sequence.
But that's like those are things that somebody like thought about and it was like, what if we did it this way? And that's not something that I never got that vibe from Aquaman. Like I never watched Aquaman and thought that there was somebody who was thinking seriously about any of the shots that they took.
Yeah.
Like that whole movie seemed just like, all right, yeah, we're going to phone it in. Yeah. The slow zoom in, slow zoom in their face. Yeah.
Make sure you hang extra long on this shot of Jason Momoa and Amber Heard.
We're going to rely on Willem Dafoe and his unique voice to just kind of like
keep forgetting Willem Dafoe is in that movie.
Yeah. Talk about an amazing actor. Utilized very poorly.
Yeah. Like Ewan McGregor.
Yeah, for sure. I think that happens a lot in these big budget like superhero style movies or comic book movies where they know they're gonna make their money back, so they just hire some fucking star power.
Dude, like Jeremy Irons as Alfred in Batman vs Superman.
Yeah.
Is like
I'm gonna say right now,
world-class actor.
I'm gonna give some advice out to all of the A-listers out there.
Oh, as if they want
as if they're listening to our podcast. But I'm just gonna say right now, if anybody approaches you about being in a superhero movie, unless you have no intentions of being respected in your field ever again, just say no.
Oh, well, except for the one exception to the rule, which was Heath Ledger.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Talk about an exception.
Yeah.
But that's also like a little bit different.
Yeah.
I think because you could also say the same thing about Joaquin Phoenix and his Joker.
Yeah.
But like, I think.
But also Christian Bale, though. I mean, not that he wasn't on people's map as an actor from The Machinist and American Psycho, but like, you know, he's like still probably the most iconic Batman for a generation.
Probably.
You know?
Yeah. I
don't think he's been topped yet. I mean, I like Ben Affleck's portrayal more, but as a cultural figure. Yeah.
I mean, like when they're wearing the cowl, it's hard for me to tell the difference. They're just square jaw white guys. Kind of the point, though. Although I will say Pattinson looks a bit different. I mean, because he's an armored Batman in the way that like the Arkham Batmans are. We while we're still recording, we talked about this a little bit before the cast, and I think that I have some weird feelings about this new Batman movie.
I do too, but my fingers are crossed. I thought the trailer looked amazing.
I thought the trailer.
I have faith in Matt Reeves, and I have faith in Robert Pattinson and in Andy Serkis.
I don't.
And
I want to, but I don't.
And I really have faith in Jeffrey Wright.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's incredible in everything. I don't know how the hell they got him for Commissioner Gordon. Well, I think
that was a really smart cast for Commissioner Gordon.
You know.
I hope they write him well.
Yeah.
I hope that film is coherent. I hope that it's not too busy. The trailer was really busy. It looked cool. It was shot cool. I liked.
Well, the danger is that is the overstuffing of villains, and Batman's done that a few times. There's Dark Knight Rises,
right,
and Batman and Robin. And Batman and Robin is bad for a million other reasons, but
right,
the overstuffing of the villains is a big part of it.
I hope it's not overstuffing of the villains because they're trying to get like, hey, look we know this villain that you like, and we threw him in here for a cameo.
Yeah.
Like I don't want villain cameo roulette.
Well, it's like we said before the pod, or like what I was saying to you is that I think it's I feel like, and I could end up being wrong, and it could just be what you're saying, but I feel like it's because they're trying to set up a lived-in comic booky world for Batman, where it's like a lot of the Rogues Gallery is already there. The main focus will probably still be on Edward Nygma, you know, but Falcone exists and Oswald Cobblepot exists.
Right. Yeah.
You know, whoever,
hope,
maybe Harvey Dent already, like he's probably a DA at this point or something. He might even be Two-Face already. Who knows? You know?
Yeah. Like, I hope we get that.
Yeah.
TJ, I really do.
I think it's going to be a better movie than this one, though, no matter what.
I don't know. Maybe. I think it's got good chances.
We'll see when we get there, because we're definitely going to do an episode on it when it happens in
not if I have anything to say about it. TJ.
Whoa.
No, I'm just kidding.
All right, guys. So I think we've yapped enough about this.
Yeah, it's been a long episode. I want to leave you guys with one more thing, though. TJ doesn't think this is a good idea, but I think it's a good idea. Idris Elba as Batman.
I didn't say that wasn't
in a cyberpunk setting. Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. You didn't really say that. You gave me some light pushback, though.
Yeah.
Guys, cyberpunk Batman played by Idris Elba. Okay. And then the sequel, Batman Beyond.
But I think if you're going to do Cyberpunk Batman, just do Batman Beyond. That is Batman Beyond. Just do Batman Beyond. Just do Batrunner.
It can be both.
It can be both. Idris Elba's Batman in 2030.
All right. Good night, guys.
Peace.
Come on, mister. You boom. Come on, man. You boom.